Welcome to the Channels Book Club.
Thank you.
How did you get into creative writing?
Well, creative writing has always been a passion that I've nursed from when I was young. So, I started writing poems at an early age, and with time, by the time I finished my secondary school, I was already, writing so many things. I started with letters to friends. I would write long letters, and they would always call them epistles. So naturally, at some point, I felt, I had so much to tell a story. So I decided on.
I'm guessing that must have been born out of a lot of reading when you were very young.
I read a lot because I'm lucky to have parents who had so many books. We got books as gifts before any other thing. So we had a very rich library which we could read from. So from time to time, I read so many, books, even books that were maybe a little above my age at that time because they were available to me. So that also sharpened my creative skills and helped my imagination and gave birth to who I am today.
What did you first attempt to write? Can you remember?
I think it's a poem. It's a poem, and that would be in my lower secondary school, maybe GS3, I think. I think it was a poem, but I don't think I can quite remember the title now.
Okay, that's fair enough. Um, Cruel Passion. Tell us about this book.
Wow, Cruel Passion, it's the main theme of Cruel Passion is rape. It's actually about a young girl, that's the Fiolua, who the young girl we see every day, who are not exposed to the realities of life, caged in her father's house, not exposed. She's not mixing up, so she's not expressing her age. At certain age, children are expected to demonstrate some prowess, challenge adult advice in a way, but in a very creative way anyway. But she wasn't given that opportunity. She was a typical girl, caged, cocooned by her father. The fear of her father was the beginning of wisdom. So that affected the way she viewed life. And then, like we would say, every girl should be able to read in between the lines. She couldn't read in between the lines when she needed to. And then going away from the main character, who is Ife, we'll go to Bankole, who is also one of the main characters. He stood for the typical boy who lacked a father figure. Raised by a mother who was married to a foreigner who couldn't stand his African, background. He was sent home, eventually raised by a grandmother who couldn't relate to that teenage, the teenage years that he was expressing. So eventually got carried away by friends' advice, took his alter ego from older boys who introduced them to smoking, early dating, which was, a bit out of order. And then we see Ruby born out of the two dysfunctional characters, coming from a mother who told her that, look, you must never trust any man. So it's an interwoven story of, love, hatred, abomination, and eventually you see fate playing out, in very dangerous manner.
What inspired it? Sounds very interesting.
Well, I would say one major inspiration was my own experience in the boarding house. You see a lot of characters in the boarding school, children who, for the first time, are a bit free and then they go overboard. So I think that was a bit of an inspiration for me. When I was writing, every time I reflect back to those, when I was writing the younger, ages of the character, that helped me a bit to understand how teenagers function and then to their adulthood.
Are you the classical entertainer writer or the activist writer?
No, I would say I'm more of an entertainer. I would say I'm more of an entertainer because, I've not done anything, wrote anything political, for instance, and in every of my work that I have in the pipeline, nothing in that. So I'm the typical entertainer. Let me put that there. It's a book. If I write any book, I want you to be able to pick it up and learn some, some values. And put it that way, yeah.
What's the central theme you're trying to drive with Cruel Passion?
Yes, the central theme is, I wouldn't say it's one, but I would take it from majorly parenting is one thing that came to mind when I was writing it. The kind of, most of our children don't have their parents anymore. The TV, the house helps, are their parents and their mates who actually do not know better than they are. So I think for me, this book helps, if a parent picks it up, it helps them to see, that divide that is present between young growing children, teenagers now, and then the way adults perceive them. A lot of times they are off, you travel, Ife's father was always traveling. So she never had that advice of, that interaction with her father. So, but her mother, who was also at home, was the laid back kind of mother. She's just there, not so observant. So it helps for us to say, oh, parenting has to be detailed. And then in teaching the children, the young ones that are growing up, we need to imbibe a lot of values, a lot of confidence in them. You need to tell them the truth about life. We don't need to shield them away from the realities.
Mm. Is that the reason why an organization like UNICEF will say, let's give a few copies of this to people and all that? The parenting theme.
I believe it's part of it, and the fact that it's dealing with, this book has been labeled 14 plus, so, and up to adulthood. I mean, the character's life actually started from about the age of, say, 14, 15, and it went on and on into adulthood. So it's a book that a parent will pick and still enjoy wonderfully, yes.
Tell us, how far has the book gone? I mean, have you received a lot of feedback and so on?
Yes, a lot of feedbacks. I mean, one of the greatest feedback that has been constant is the fact that when people read it, people tell me, oh, I couldn't sleep throughout the night. I had to just make sure I completed. And truly, that brings a smile to my face that, okay, yes, this book is engaging. Because when you write, it has to be engaging for people to be. I mean, when you pick a book, you must want to see the last page. So that brings smiles to my face.
All right. Can you please read something from Cruel Passion for our viewers?
Ife looked around to find Bankole standing afar off and watching with no concern. She opened her mouth to scream, but felt a piece of dirty rag stuffed into her mouth. The sting filled her nostrils, choking her. She struggled to pull away, but the fight was one-sided. As several slaps landed on her face, forcing her to be quiet. She wiggled her body as they pushed her to the ground, but they were too strong for her. She could hear their voices as they spoke, but the sound was too low for her to make out what they were saying. She whimpered through the rag in her mouth, trying to plead with them, but they continued with what they were doing. A light blazed into her eyes, and a choking smell filled her nostril. The burning ember illuminated Bankole's face, casting several long, indistinctive shadows, and she couldn't mistake his height and broad shoulders for anyone else.